Major funding for Frontline is provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Additional funding is provided by this station and other public television stations nationwide.
When someone gets mad and they have it for a long time, they have to have a divorce.
Tonight, the fights nobody wins. Half of all American marriages end in divorce. 2 million more children each year watch their families break up, and they can become the battleground when their parents go to war.
I've made just as much commitment. I want the rights to go with it, and I want the recognition, not so much as what I'm looking for, but I just want to be able to be there. They're mine.
Tonight on Frontline, Divorce Wars.
From the network of public television stations, a presentation of KCTS Seattle, WNET New York, WPBT Miami, WTVS Detroit, and WGBH Boston. This is Frontline with Judy Woodruff.
Good evening. This is a story that started out to be about children and ended up about adults. It's about divorce. In this country, people divorce more readily than almost anywhere else. As a result, we have more than 60 million children with divorced parents. And those parents are in a way unique. They're the first generation of adults for whom getting divorced is a fact of life, but who do so with very little guidance, with parents who look on and can't offer their experiences, and with children who watch them struggle with one of life's most painful ordeals. The program is called Divorce Wars. It's produced by Sherry Jones and co-produced by Christine Intagliata.
Wilmington, Delaware. Laurie Paoli is 26 years old. Her daughter Tanya is 2.5. Matthew is 5. This year, her marriage and their family fell apart.
Mom, will you push me?
Delaware is like the rest of the country. In the last year here, 5,600 couples met, courted, and married. More than half that number, 3,000, came to family court to get a divorce.
Susan Lamey.
Every Thursday morning, every week of the year, the 4th floor of family court is filled. There are more women than men. Mostly they are young. Their average age is 32. Most of them have children.
We'll put your right hand on the Bible and repeat your full name.
Marie T. Harkins.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to present to the court in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Notice you do, please.
You had 2 children with him, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
All right. And they're in your custody, is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Are you currently pregnant?
No.
Appearing the jurisdictional requirements of the code have been satisfied.
It used to be you could end your marriage only if you or your partner were judged guilty of a marital fault. That has changed. 49 states now grant what is called a no-fault divorce.
Your marriage is irretrievably broken?
Yes.
Would you explain to the court briefly why you reached that conclusion?
We are no longer in love with each other. There is no communication between us.
Different things, money situations, about her kids, you know, wanting to me adopt her kids and stuff. And I said, let's wait and get the marriage settled first. And it's just a bunch of different stuff. And it's fine. I just said, cool, I've had it.
But we just couldn't get along. She worked, and I worked, they worked. And we never saw each other, and when we did, there was nothing there.
The change in the law lowered the decibel level and the bitterness of the adversarial divorce.
Yes.
It also made it easier. Every 27 seconds, someone in this country gets a divorce.
It will therefore be the recommendation of this court that a final decree of divorce be entered upon the expiration of 15 days from today's date.
We had a problem with communication, and we just started leading separate lives. So, just one went one way and one went the other.
Okay, is there any probability of reconciliation?
No.
Okay.
All right, no further questions.
Appearing the jurisdictional requirements of the code have been satisfied.
Half our marriages now end this way. Few of us have stopped to measure what that really means.
The final decree of divorce be entered upon the expiration.
Michael and Laurie Paoli married 6 months after they met. She was 20, he was 22. She got pregnant with Matthew on their honeymoon. Tanya was born when Matthew was 2. 5.5 years after they married, Laurie filed for divorce. Michael's reaction was immediate.
Michael had taken the kids, and I didn't know where they were. And he took them, I believe, up to his parents' house in New York or something. And I didn't know where they were, and I had no way of getting them back. So I filed emergency custody, which meant that he had to come back. And I felt that I had no recourse at the time other than to enter into the court system. I kind of wish I hadn't now, but I think it also helped Michael know that I was serious. You know, I wasn't playing around. I wasn't going to take it anymore.
In an emergency hearing, a judge ruled that they share custody of their children until a permanent agreement could be reached. Laurie then filed for sole custody, and so did Michael, setting the stage for yet another battle in a marriage that had been troubled almost from the start.
I'm not saying it's Michael's fault or my fault, but he does not find me easy to live with, and I don't find him easy to live with, and it just was a big shock to me that somebody would have a hard time living with me. I thought, you know, it'd be a lot of fun. Instead, it was work, work, work. You know, it was much of it was a drag, you know. And plus, we had kids right away, which didn't really help. I mean, the kids were great and everything, but it was kind of hard to have kids right away and not really get a chance to know each other.
Matthew, it's time to go get your pajamas on and get ready for bed, okay?
Can you bring them down here?
Laurie had left once before, 3 years before she finally filed for divorce.
I got a bottle for you, come on. We went through this 3 years ago, and I was the one that filed for an emergency hearing back then. The marital home was deserted by her, the kids were with me. The court shocked the hell out of me, to put it bluntly. I went down and asked, what do I need to do to protect my kids? I mean, there's some very extreme circumstances here. The kids are with me. I want to make sure that if I leave them with somebody and go to work, I'm not going to come back and they're going to disappear on me. And I said, well, you got to file for an emergency hearing. Well, I filed for an emergency hearing, and what that was a 1-hour hearing where somebody can get up and say whatever they want, nothing substantiated, and I had a judge make a decision that, hey, you are out of the house. You pay $50 a week. You see the kids basically at their whim. I was supposed to be guaranteed to see them on Saturday and Sunday and I think part of Monday. Well, gee, you know, I get calls, can't see them this weekend, you brought them back sick last week, and whatever games they want. And I was like, hey, I've got no rights here.
The children have watched their parents separate and reconcile and separate again. In the 6 months since the last separation, Tanya and Matthew have stayed in the 2-bedroom condominium, while their parents move in and out every other week. Neither can afford a place of their own.
Can I use Mom's toothbrush, Dad?
Yeah, you can use Mom's.
I like this one.
I had visions of you know, us going on a family picnic and him bringing his guitar and me sitting and holding the baby lovingly and smiling at him and him smiling at us, and you know, I didn't have visions of the kids trying to kill each other and the family picnics, food getting all dumped on the ground and the guitar getting stepped on, and and you know, that, you know, I just thought it would be so much better than it was, you know.
One morning,
he spilled pancakes on the floor.
he sure did, all over the floor. And his sister called him a bad bunny.
Bad bunny.
And PJ said he was sorry. He did not mean to spill the syrup.
Yeah, he didn't.
No. I don't serve TV dinners, and I don't serve spaghetti and peanut butter and jelly, which is more than I think I can say for what was occurring for him when I was married, when I wasn't responsible for that stuff. Their sheets are changed regularly, which didn't occur then. I feel, you know, I think I'm a good parent. And that's what I want to be looked at as when I walk in there, not as the father. I don't want her looked at as the mother. I want it looked at who's the best parent.
At this moment, the Paolis want a judge to make Solomon's decision, what to do with their children. Their struggle is just beginning.
Family court, can you hold, please? Okay, costs and fines, Mr.
The number of divorces grew by 4% in Delaware last year, but the number of people coming here to fight over their kids grew by 25%.
Can I help you?
No-fault divorce may reduce some of the acrimony. No law can reduce the pain. And when there are children involved, the conflict does not always end at the moment of divorce.
Modification of the joint custody? Or do you want to file contempt of court? Do you want to force her to take the children, or would you rather just have full custody yourself?
I'd rather just have full custody.
And then you want to file modification?
Adam, away from the door.
Every year in this country, there are 2 million more children of divorce. There is no way to write laws that guarantee what's best for every one of them. So each state struggles in different ways to protect the children.
We don't go round up people off the street. People can divorce, that is, end their marriage, which they are legally required to come to court to do, without asking us to do anything with regard to custody, child support, alimony, property division. It's only when they can't reach an agreement that they come in here and they say, okay, you know, we give up, we can't do it, or he will only do it on, you know, on his terms and I'll only do it on my terms. It's only then that the court ever steps in.
Okay, it was under Rash, yeah.
Okay, what's his last name?
It is money that brings the greatest number of parents to family court. 10,000 petitions for child support were filed here in the last year alone, more than ever before.
Have you ever filed a petition for child support before?
No. Nationwide, fewer than half the fathers who owe money for their children pay what they're supposed to.
He's not giving you any money towards house expenses?
No, he says he's not going to give me anything.
Well, right now I'm unemployed. He's been giving me like $30 a week, which that buys a case of diapers and a couple gallons of milk, and that's about it.
According to one major study, women suffer a decline of 70% in their standard of living in the first year after a divorce. Men see a 40% increase. And 9 times out of 10, it's the mother who has custody of the children.
I'll also need pay stubs.
I didn't get my mama's check.
Delaware has taken a pioneering step in dealing with child support. It uses a formula to figure how much each parent ought to pay. It's based on the notion that the children come first, that each parent gets only a minimum for themselves until the needs of their kids are assured.
You telling me that she can get $147? Why?
Because that's what the figures show us.
I can't afford that.
According to the formula, this father owes $147 every 2 weeks for his 3 children.
What I'm saying is that I'm struggling now. You know, when I left, she didn't have nothing to pay for. I bought the furniture, everything in that house was paid for. She goes out and buys an 85 car. That's the reason why she's stuck now. You know, why should I have to go through all the suffering because she feels as though Eddie needs braces on his teeth?
It's not what I feel. I can't afford it either. They want $94 a month. I don't have it. I can't
what
even
I'm
make
saying
it,
is that
barely making it
$147 a month is too much. I got a year left on my loan. Once I pay that off, then I'll go ahead and get the boy his braces myself. I can work out something with the doctors.
Are you willing, Rebecca, to come down off the calculation at all?
No.
So you want to stick with the 147?
Well, I can't pay that.
You know, I pay daycare. I pay everything.
I just lose my job. There's no way in hell I can pay $147 every 2 pays.
No sense continuing the argument now, okay? You're both stuck on your figure. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to set up a date for a court hearing and then explain if you have any other questions about the court hearing.
Up here.
You think I enjoy coming up here?
You must.
You the one that initiates all the stuff,
well,
so we have all the alternatives.
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't give a shit. I'll lose my job.
Well, that's
Believe
up to
me.
you.
Well, fine, you won't get nothing. Believe me, I don't care. Believe me, that sister.
That's stupid to cut your nose off to spite your face.
Well, I don't give a shit. I really don't. Y'all women, that's all y'all women think. You think you can just drain somebody.
When it happens and you don't have the right to see your kids, then.
I don't give a shit. Well, we'll see.
Yeah, we will.
Well, they'll hate you. They won't hate me. You let them know that.
Kind of this tug and pull between parents where what they do is they use children as the bait. You didn't let me see the kid early enough, and therefore I'm not going to pay your support, or I'm going to pay it late. She says, well, you didn't visit with the kids, so I'm going to bring you in for more money. Parents use children's issue to batter each other, often long after the divorce, when they don't have economic issues to tie themselves together in other ways. We're trying to say to people, kids' issues are separate. When you file a divorce, that's fine. You could go do whatever you want, but we're going to break out custody, and we're going to break out support, and we're going to make you deal and focus on how this is going to affect your children first.
Is it a reference to a wage attachment? Or
Do you like that arrangement of meeting at McDonald's as versus coming to the home?
I don't mind.
It doesn't matter to you?
Doesn't matter.
Okay, so it's all right if he picks you up at McDonald's and then return you back to McDonald's for your mother to take you home?
Right.
Okay.
Well, he gets them at night.
For every holiday. We went through July 4th, and that wasn't considered a holiday. Remember I got her 9 to 2?
Okay, my basic worry is Christmas and Easter when I have her there in the morning.
Okay. And I feel all holidays.
Oh, okay, well then
So
we'll stick with all holidays.
what's been the longest that you spent with your dad?
The longest one is when we spent the night with him for a week.
For a week? How did you like that?
It was fun.
It was fun? That's good.
7 months and 6 days after they separate, Laurie and Michael Paoli are granted a divorce. They still cannot agree on who will have legal custody of their children and take responsibility for the decisions involving them.
Oh, really?
They are pressing ahead with each of their petitions for sole custody.
It's not mandatory. It's basically a guideline, okay, a starting point.
And today, in their first session with a court mediator on Laurie's petition against Michael for child support, they're going to get a lesson in the economics of splitting up.
Okay, the very top figures. Okay, on yours, Laura Lee, as I said, we use the year-to-date because your incomes fluctuate from pay to pay. When you have a salary pay, we just go with that. Okay, then you deduct a certain amount for self-support. Okay, $450 is the maximum figure allowable, and that would normally be...
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. In step C, we
He
have
earns a
your
little more than
income
$17,000 a year as a mental health administrator.
And that's how we
She
get the
works 2 different jobs to make $13,500.
My understanding is the end result is it's written that I would pay support, and so therefore to me it's assuming that she would have full custody.
No, not necessarily. Okay. Full custody,
I mean, suppose,
custody.
all right, let me ask you this. Suppose I had full custody.
If you had full custody, then I assume you would be the one filing for support.
I did file for support.
You each asked for it in your petition?
Yes, we did.
You filed for support? You gotta be kidding.
No, I can't find it.
Suppose there was a support agreement, somebody decided to quit work and go to school.
You have to worry about today for the kids. The kids can't wait for 4 years for you to graduate and have a better job. You know, you have to worry about today.
Kind of blows school out, doesn't it?
Well, there's ways to fit it in.
I don't know. I mean, it's like almost impossible, you know?
It's not easy. Anytime there's a split, you know, there's always sacrifices that have to be made. Okay, any other questions? Okay?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. My biggest problem was that it was all written as if she was a custodial parent. And maybe it wasn't written that way, but the way it was presented to me, I had problems with that. I mean, what about the possibility that I was going to be the full custodial parent? I thought the emphasis was mainly that I would be paying support.
This kind of arrangement makes no allowance for school, and it kind of sticks me in this job forever.
What I take exception with that, Lori, is support isn't for you to go to school. It's to help meet the expenses of the children.
But that would help meet the expenses of the children. In other words, you've got your degree, okay? You're able to be upwardly mobile. I'm not. I don't have my degree.
My degree didn't just miraculously appear. I worked full-time on an assembly line, you know, for 5 years and paid my way through
school.
school.
And took care of the kids and took care of the house. You would have had to pay somebody to do that, or you would have had to do it yourself or whatever.
I did pay the bills and all the expenses related to raising the children at that time.
Yeah, but
and
you didn't, you know, if you had kids, okay, and somebody would have had to take care of them, okay, you would have had to pay somebody to do that.
Kids without a mother. I mean, they don't
But that doesn't take into consideration what I did during that time. You see what I'm saying? In other words, I stayed home, took care of the kids while you got your degree. And now, when it's time for me to go to school...
Really realistic in the case. You started and dropped school 2 times.
Because I had kids to take care of.
Well, that wasn't, I think, the major
Nobody ever told me that I was going to have to take care of myself, because really the way it is nowadays, you have to think yourself first, take care of yourself first, and then maybe marriage will fall into place.
Most of the divorces today are initiated by women. It is a change brought on by changing roles and by the promise that in today's workplace, a woman can make it on her own if she chooses. In Laurie's case, that sometimes means a 60-hour week at 2 jobs, mostly on the swing shift.
Right now, it's just a matter of, like, bills. I mean, I'm so in debt, you know. I owe my lawyer all this money, and you know, as far as, well, we don't know what we're going to do yet, you know, as far as the house and everything, but if I get my own place, hey, that's going to be, like, it's just astronomical, the cost and everything. I mean, I probably have to work as much as I am just to be able to afford a place and everything. And I'm just kind of like trying to get ahead a little bit before, you know, before I would have to do that, you know, just get some of these bills caught up and, you know, pay off some of these debts and everything.
6 years ago, there were 700 lawyers in this country who specialized in divorce. Today, there are almost 12,000. Michael shopped for his, he says, like he shopped for a car. And he chose Joel Tenenbaum, one of the busiest divorce lawyers in Delaware. He's a man with a reputation for winning for his clients and a growing reputation for winning custody battles for fathers. Michael makes few decisions without him.
How'd you make out yesterday?
Touch and go. I didn't sign anything or agree to anything. My main concern was that with the way they presented their support statement, it mainly reflected if the mother has custody. Basically where I've left it is that, no, we're not agreeing to what they have at this point in time. I want to get with you and go over the different alternatives that Lorelei and myself are working out, and what your recommendations as to them would be.
Okay, fine.
I also need to get with you over the custody agreement issue.
Yeah. My feeling is, frankly, that this case has, you know, been in existence far too long. And rather than keep it at the mediation level, unless you feel that there's a chance that there's going to be some sort of agreement, I'd rather have you tell the mediator to send it upstairs for a hearing.
Okay, well, what I want to do is meet with you on that issue, because basically the court has stated that...
5 miles from Attorney Tenenbaum's office is another professional whose business grows as the divorce rate grows.
I'll be my mommy and be my daddy.
All right. Now, Heather didn't think of anything to say to me.
It's not my fault.
Mostly, Paula Malone counsels children who are troubled by what's taken place when their parents divorced.
Well, I think she should talk to me more.
It is an adversarial process, and that's the really unfortunate part of it. It should be, just as marriage should be, a cooperative process. It should be a partnership. But what happens, and it's not the fault of the attorneys, what happens is that they simply are following the legal constraints under which they operate, which says that your client hires you, their client hires somebody else, and you both go at each other, and you try and resolve this dispute. And sometimes it isn't a dispute. Sometimes it's an agreement, and it becomes a dispute because of the input of the attorneys who want to win what they can win for their clients. I try very hard when I am talking to attorneys to help them see that, yes, nothing is ever the way everybody wants it. But please, don't make any big losers, because if they make a big loser, if they create a big loser, the process will not end. There will be anger, there will be hatred, there will be hostility, there will be all of those feelings that come out of losing, and they will prevent any possible true resolution of this situation.
We are not
prepared to go forward and to defend any rule to show cause why she should be held in contempt.
But we're talking about close to $1,700 worth of arrearages, Your Honor. And, you know, the court has already ordered that she give us evidence of...
It is one of 1,800 court hearings over child support that will happen here this year.
I don't mean to give Mrs. Bryan a hard time, and I will happily agree not to press the issue of contempt if I can get some representation from Mr. Hudson that he's...
The father's attorney has filed a petition asking for an increase in the child support the mother pays. The father has custody of their 2 sons and wants more money to help cover $80 a week in daycare expenses.
Mr. Bryan, you are presently cohabitating with someone, is that correct?
Yes.
And where does she work?
She works at Edgemart.
How many hours per day will she be working?
I really don't know.
Will she be working every day?
I don't know that.
Your Honor, he's answered the question.
I'm sorry, it's a different question. Will she be working? Will she be working on Sunday?
I don't know.
Her schedule of work is not important to you?
Oh, I didn't say that. She just started the job Monday. I have no way of knowing all about her job in 2 days.
If she was working from 6 at night to 11 at night, she would be available during the day to take care of her kids, is that correct?
No.
That's not correct?
No.
Why wouldn't she be available during the day if she's living with you to take care of your kids?
Because she's not my wife. It's not her responsibility to take care of my kids. It's my responsibility to see to it that my kids are brought up in a proper atmosphere and in a place where they can learn and grow with other children.
And she says the woman with whom you're living married to someone else.
I really don't know. As far as I know, I don't know.
I remind you, you're under oath, Mr. Bryan.
I don't know whether her being either married to someone else, but she's living with him would be relevant. If it is, I would...
Your Honor, there is no obligation on a person who is not a parent of a child.
It is in hearings like these that you ask the question, is the best interest of a client necessarily the best interest of a child? No decision is made today. It could be a month before the winner is announced.
With him to pick up the car.
I didn't even hear a squeak though.
Honey, I'd like to make arrangements to pick up the Chevette. I'd like to know when it's convenient for you.
You ain't gonna pick up the Chevette.
Bruce, can we wait till Friday on that? I mean, we've got a property division hearing on Friday. There is definitely a dispute.
The parents don't have to really like each other. Because if they really did, they probably wouldn't be divorcing. But they need to cooperate with each other. And if they can, put their own, what we've referred to as hidden agendas, put their own upsets, their own angers, their own hostility, their own loss, their own need to blame behind them, then they may be able to come to a working arrangement which will allow the children to see that even though their parents can't function together as a couple, they can function together as mother and father.
The Paolis come to Paula Malone's colleague, Jeff Elias Frankel, for private counseling. They have a choice, to fight it out in court or to find some way to reach an agreement. 5 times they've been scheduled for a final custody hearing. 5 times it's been postponed. And now, 4 weeks after their divorce, they have second thoughts.
They came to me divorced and wanting to work on becoming possibly remarried, about working on their relationship. In the course of that, we uncovered that they are simultaneously pursuing contested custody. So they're entering the court system to sort of fight one another about who would have legal custody with regard to the kids. At the same time, they were coming to me and saying, okay, look, we want to work on putting our relationship together. That kind of confusion, sort of trying to go north and south at the same time, is not, it's an extreme example of it, but we all got that. So essentially what we've been trying to do is to make the situation a little bit less confusing.
There's a lot of things that could occur there. I mean, my fear would be, all right, fine, I helped her through school, and suppose she turns around and says she wants to break this whole agreement.
You know, schools cost a lot of money. And if we hang on to the house, it means I won't be able to get financial aid, for one thing. So I'd pretty much have to channel, if I'm working part-time, I'm going to have to channel into paying for school, you know. And it's going to affect how much I can pay.
It puts in my head right away, well, hey, I could work out this agreement, then she could decide to quit work and go to school, and it puts
Absolutely.
everything out of work.
Yeah, let me interrupt. Notice how the level of trust that you sort of slowly start to establish all of a sudden can be, what if I'm conned?
Fragile.
It's real fragile. It's real fragile.
I know that they want to achieve a positive outcome for this. They're just confused as to really what that is. Is the positive outcome for me the same as it is for the other person? Is the same for the children? They don't know that, and they're struggling with that. And that's a painful process per se, in addition to the pain of the loss that they've experienced. So yeah, theirs is a very painful circumstance.
Getting the legal divorce is not the end of it. There is the emotional divorce that has to happen too. It's a vulnerable time for the parents as well as the kids.
I went to work and he assaulted me in the parking lot at work and he ripped my blouse off.
Whose order was it?
Their parents are often bound up with one another in cycles of anger and hurt and pain. What's constantly on the mind of each is the other.
He is in contempt of court and your life is in danger because he's threatening you. He's in contempt of order already and he knows what. Family court, Mrs. Lloyd.
So even though the subject of their legal battle may be their children, that's not always what the fight is about.
Sometimes the only way to stop loving is to hate somebody. And if they truly hate somebody, then they really feel that that person is not the right person for their children. So in the heat of that process of divorcing, when that process is escalated by the whole legal structure, those kinds of feelings come to the fore and are enacted in a public arena. That is, the custody battles, the support issues, those kinds of things.
You know, if you cloak issues, money issues, in terms of what the children need, it's a more acceptable debate. It's not, I'm greedy. It's not, I'm being unreasonable. It's, I'm doing this for this innocent person who's coming in here. And so I think people rechannel things in that direction, which is very unfortunate, particularly if kids know what's going on. You know, the people who pay their child support by handing the check to the child and saying, you know, here's, I can't take you out for an ice cream because your mom's getting all of my money. That's real hard for children to understand and to appreciate and not to get involved in the whole battle between parents.
Parents should never feel that their children do not know what's going on. They may not comprehend. They may not have the ideas of what's going on, but they can feel it. What I'm saying is the children are always observing the parents. They're always knowing what's happening with the parents. And as the situation heats up, and very often it begins to heat up as we get into the property settlement. Who gets what? Who is going to own the house? Do we sell the house? Do we divide the house in half? Then, as the parents start to fight over this issue, and the lawyers who are involved have to fight for each client. So the lawyers are going for the jugular, then the parents go for the jugular, and the children have the ringside seats. They didn't even have to pay for it. They can be right there, they can observe, and they see, and then they feel.
And the child wants to be there for the parent. The child wants to provide what the parent needs at the moment, knowing that the parent is really suffering. So that the child then becomes really okay. And what I see often is that it's after the dust has settled, after the divorce has been, in a sense, formally completed, that I begin to see symptomatic behavior in the child, or that the family begins to see, or the school begins to see symptomatic behavior, that the child has held on, has been okay, as it were, for the parent, but it falls apart, so to speak, later on. And I think if at the time the parent could go beyond their own pain and they could say, in some way, I know this is just as much hell for you as it is for me, that the child wouldn't be really okay, that the child would communicate their own pain, that the child wouldn't be blasé about it. No child is blasé about the loss of their family as they know it. None.
It does not make any difference how many children they've spoken to in their classrooms whose parents have been divorced. Each child feels the trauma very deeply. Generally, children require, divorce or not divorce, feeling secure. That the way the world is today is pretty much the way the world is going to be tomorrow. And that the people who are caring for me today are the people who will be caring for me tomorrow. This is extremely difficult to accomplish in a divorce or a separation.
Mommy, I don't understand all about this. You tell me. I understand about some, but you tell me.
What don't you understand?
You tell me. Why understand it when someone gets mad and they have it for a long time, they have to have a divorce. You tell me.
You still mad? Matthew will talk about the divorce. He'll say, why is this happening? I don't like this. I was concerned about him seeing too many conflicts between us, too many fights. But he's 5, and kids tend to be, you know, semi-flexible at that age. They kind of accept, well, this is going to be the way it is for a while.
Don't.
You did it.
What I've told them, a struggle between two parents that becomes more and more intense, becomes more and more difficult for the kids to handle. And that's the long and short of it. In court, in which there appears to be a winner and a loser, there is only an illusion of a winner and a loser. That's it. The kids have not won, the winner has not won, and the loser has not won.
In Delaware, the family court agrees that battles between parents are best kept out of the courtroom. So when a couple files a petition on issues involving their children, they must come to mediation. One last chance to compromise. It is one of only 4 states in the country where mediation is mandatory.
Mediation is where you guys take control, in essence. This is all it is. You're coming in and you're saying, we have a divorce, we have children, we need to resolve issues around our children. And you're telling me that you're going to take control, that you want to resolve those issues. You don't want a judge to resolve it for you. You're going to come in here.
If they can agree on custody, visitation, and support, it is signed. It becomes a court order without the courtroom fight.
What are you talking about? It's nits, lice. Down the street we go. You're an unfit mother. The kids have head lice. You don't keep them clean. You know, that's embarrassing. I live in that neighborhood, and I simply said that so that he would not have to go through what I went through.
But the sad part about it is she didn't tell me the way she told you. You understand?
Yeah.
When I came to the door, it was that, you know, I found nits in his hair, right? And if I see him on his child, I'm calling you. So I get mad and my mouth starts to get a little nasty, and I start to denigrate. And I admit that I got a dirty mouth when it comes time.
You know where the buttons are. You can either decide to turn off all buttons and communicate as 2 people, or you can decide to keep playing the button pusher thing.
Yeah.
And like we said before, and I'm going to say it again, if everything worked out well in your marriage, or even worked out well in your divorce, you wouldn't be here. But the fact is you're having rough spots, and that's why you have to come here.
Well, everything's all over except for this little bit. You know, another thing you want me to do is she wants me taking...
When a judge comes and tells you what to do, you have not necessarily made a commitment to that. You've put yourself at his mercy, and that's what happens. You get this decision handed down. A lot of times in mediation, both parties come out happy. Not 100% content, but comfortable. They can live with what they've decided. It is filling maybe the top 5 in their needs. When you come out of court, there ain't no guarantees. When you come out of court, you got a winner and a loser. When you come out of mediation, you can have 2 winners.
I mean, we're already a part-time parent.
They've been separated for a year. Each has petitioned for sole custody of their 4-year-old son, Justin.
Our relationship has deteriorated to such a point that I really don't want to even be around her. So it is unlikely that I would visit with him over at her place. So I just think the best arrangement is, at least for the time being.
Justin moves back and forth between their homes every 2 days. The mother wants him 3 weeks out of every 4. They both want to fight it out in court. Neither would be here if they weren't required to.
I could see it if I lived halfway across the country, but I live right here in town. There's no reason why I shouldn't have access to my child on a more regular basis.
Okay, and then that goes vice versa for the father.
I don't know what his feelings are. Okay,
Well,
but
I've
I
just
know
expressed my
that
feelings.
for the most part, since Justin's been a child, I have been what I consider the primary parent. I've made all his decisions as to where he goes to school. I provide his clothing. You know, I don't all of a sudden, because of this divorce now, he's trying to make it sound like, you know, he's being neglected as a father, but I don't think that he's proven up until this point that he's really had any concern about the child.
I have always taken care of my kid, you know, and don't put that stuff about, you know, you always buy his clothes, and that's not true, Terry. You might buy some clothes for him, but I buy also.
Since when? You didn't start buying them until he started coming to your house.
But we're really concentrating on what about from here on? You know, you have some years ahead of you. Okay, now, Jason is 4, Justin is 4, right? So you have 14 more years. You have 14 more years. You have more years ahead of you than behind you.
Exactly, I agree.
You know, and there's a possibility, I don't know whether there will be, but there is a possibility for change if the both of you make the changes.
I don't see how. I'm sorry, you know. I think we're both very too stubborn people that, you know, he feels one way about a situation and I feel one way, and obviously we can't even get together to discuss this matter.
I think she would find. I think she would find that I'm a very reasonable person when it comes to my child. I just won't let her steamroller me, you know, in regards to him.
Nor are you. I'm not going to let you intimidate me into not fighting for the custody of my child either.
Well, you know, you have every right to fight, you know.
I'm glad.
But remember this, I'll go to the wall too.
Good. Then we'll have to do that.
Okay. And is this going to the wall will be until the child gets 18?
No.
I mean, what is it that you feel that a judge is going to be able to do that the both of you cannot do?
I want the judge to decide who he's going to stay with.
And do you feel that it's causing any more hardship on Justin, or is something that Justin has been able to adjust?
I really don't think so. I think he's a happy child. I think he's a very happy child. I think he loves both parents. I think he wants to be with both parents, and this is the best possible way, I think. Unless she has another. I just think it'd be kind of rough on him. I think, you know, I don't know. I really don't know. I guess something maybe it could be tried for a trial period, say.
Let me ask the both of you something. Do you want to see how a trial arrangement would be like for 2 months? And see how it works out and see how Justin adjusts?
I think it would be a good idea.
Can I think about it?
Okay.
They decide to come back for another session.
Think about it.
70% of those who go through mediation eventually reach an agreement.
You all will be able to sort of negotiate many of those.
It has been 9 months.
It doesn't make sense to
And in therapy, the Paolis have begun to back away from fighting over custody. They've begun to consider the possibility that they might work something out together.
I was starting to think, well, maybe I'm just being, you know, pressured into it because I'm a woman. And I was worried what my parents would think. Well, you don't really love your kids unless you want to have sole custody. But I was thinking, well, actually, ideally, this is what I wanted to happen when we were married, was him to take more of a responsibility with the kids. And him to do things with them without me initiating everything and giving me a break once in a while. And so I got to thinking about it more and more. And I got to thinking that maybe the way we were all looking at it was a little bit wrong.
I really want to do what's best. A big part of me would like to see us work it out. I mean, I get the strong impression from her now that she'd like to see a reconciliation. But I kind of try to weigh that and try to weigh at what I think is in the best interest of the kids. The reasons that she gives me right now, I think, are more for herself. It's kind of like, well, I like the idea of the agreement we worked out because that means that I can keep both my jobs, that I can go ahead and buy a new car, that, you know. And those aren't the reasons to me for working out an agreement.
I'm being good, Mom.
Yes, you are. You're being very good.
Are you sad?
No, I'm not sad. I'm happy.
I'm happy.
Are you happy? Why don't you be a good boy this week, okay?
Maybe.
No, definitely be a good boy and look after
She has a
Tony,
second job that pays more now, but it requires her to live in another town part of each week.
You're not sad I'm going, are you?
So in yet another change for the kids, she and Michael now move in and out every 3.5 days.
Well, I don't know if I am or not. Well, I am. No, I'm happy.
You're happy that I'm going to work?
Yeah. Now can I go outside?
I'm still really trying to keep an open mind. Last week was really, I'll settle out of court, work out a joint custody arrangement. Part of this was saying, okay, that'll, first of all, take the impending court situation away from us. It will allow us time to really work out something, see what works. If it doesn't work, well, then we can always resolve it in court. Then I kind of got a loop dropped into it where I was told by my attorney that he thinks I have a very good shot at full custody and would not recommend I go to mediation.
I thought that, well, joint custody would satisfy him, but talking about sole custody, I think a lot of it's the pressure that's put on him by his parents. They have a son that was married before, and he got divorced, and their daughter-in-law took the girl, and they didn't see her for 11 years.
Even the families, exert a lot of pressure. There's distinct lines. Lori's catching pressure from hers because she's friendly with them. I'm catching a lot of heat from mine, like, hey, what are you doing? Their attitude is go for the jugular. I mean, go for full custody. You need that piece of paper to feel secure.
So they're pushing him, and plus, I guess his lawyer was pushing him. I don't really know his other reasons. I think he wants to prove that he would be a good parent, and that he can do it.
I feel, I've made just as much commitment, and I want the rights to go with it, and I want the recognition, not so much as what I'm looking for, but I just want to be able to be there. They're mine.
You want custody of the children and you want to stay in the house. She wants custody of the children, and from what I understand, she wants to stay in the house. The court, in its decision, will first want to determine who is awarded custody, under what terms and under circumstances, before it determines what to do with the house.
Personally, I want the house.
Michael has now paid $4,500 in attorney's fees, nearly a quarter of his yearly salary.
Actually blows my mind in this situation is that while the two of you are discussing this, your wife still had, and this marvelous trust that's going on, and this marvelous cooperation that's coming on. A, you're getting a divorce. B, you've gotten a divorce. B, you're going through a property division hearing. And C, your wife has filed a petition for custody in this case, alleging you're something of a cross between Attila the Hun and Jack the Ripper, right? You've shared with me a long list of reasons why your wife is unable and incapable of meeting the children's needs.
Basically, I've looked at these last 6 weeks as a period of me evaluating how plausible it is to have a co-parenting situation with Lori. What I have seen to date is maybe I'm doing 90% of the co-parenting to her 10%. And basically, I feel I'm doing it all. If I'm going to be doing it all, then I want it all.
I had no idea that was going to go this way. And it seems to get more complicated every time I turn around. You feel like you're in a maze. So I had no idea it was just going to be this crazy. It's hard, And being married is really hard, but being divorced is harder. So, that's the way I feel about it.
Climb on up, Matthew. I kind of really see a lot of my life still revolving around Matthew and Tanya. That's where I really grieved a lot at the divorce. It's like, gosh, am I going to be there and when my daughter's going to her first prom and watch Matthew play his first baseball game? That's what really hurt. went through that. Am I going to be there? Am I going to be available? Is he going to, know who I am? And that's what it was all about to me. That's what, so much of the fight, for was if I have to go for sole custody to get that, then that's what I'll do. Good night.
No.
Good night, sweetheart.
Good night.
It's now, 1, 2, 3. You just simply say, this isn't working, I don't want any more, rather than having to try to work things out. Yeah, 2 consenting adults, and you end the relationship. That's it. They don't ever have to see each other again. If you have children, you may be able to divorce, but you can't end your role as parents.
I've had people come to me and say, if I knew I was giving up 18 years of memories, I never would have divorced that man. If I knew what the emotional implication of this decision really was, I would not have followed that impulse. I would have tried to work it out. That's the unfair aspect of the divorcing process, which we do not as a society provide. That should be the hard part. That investigation, both internally and of the marriage itself.
Some people work harder at the divorce than they do at the marriage. I think the thing to keep in mind about the Paolis is that they've had to take a look at themselves and a look at their kids. And some of the decisions which they've made earlier on, they now have to deal with the consequences of. The sense in which the two of them are in fact really going to be interdependent has become real. And what you get to learn when you get divorced is it doesn't get done with. I mean, part of it gets done with, but part of it goes on. My fears for the children are that the kids are going to get caught into it, that they're going to be brought into it, and they're going to have the psychological experience that they have to choose, and that they can't be right. That if they love their mom, they're wrong in their dad's eyes, and if they love their dad, they're wrong in their mom's eyes. And that's not tolerable. Kids of divorce, when the divorce has never been really psychologically accomplished, have real difficulties establishing other relationships. And there's the cycle again.
Children's schedule at school, activity, play, and rest according to the following schedule based on the time split of 3.5 days, 3.5. So why don't you review what I have.
10 months and 20 days after they separated, Michael and Laurie agree once again to stay out of court, to figure out together how sharing custody of Matthew and Tanya could work.
8 a.m. on non-school days and 5 p.m. on school days until 9:30 p.m. The minor child will be...
At this moment, it is up to them, and to them alone. Parents show their children what marriage and a family is.
Well,
trips less than 48 hours require...
They show them what a divorce is, too.
Well, weren't we going to change that to, say less than 72 hours require notification?
The whole intent of this agreement is whether or not can we trust each other. Can you and I decide...
Then why do you need consent here? Why even put that in there?
Because I think it's more a question of courtesy. As I'm saying, I'm going to give you the courtesy.
Doesn't notification cover that?
It does for the shorter trips, but I think for a lengthier trip, I may have concerns about some things. And if you can't abide by certain aspects of the agreement, then I got to question how valid your word is or your signature is going to be on any aspect of the agreement.
That I won't abide by it. I'm just saying I don't know why written consent has to be given. I don't know. It's just that I resent being told what I can and can't do with the kids when it's my time.
Well, see, the problem I have, though, if that's the attitude you're going to take about the agreement...
I know. It's just that I feel like I'm bending as far as I can with a lot of this stuff.
Really put off by that kind of perception. I don't think that's the attitude I've taken at all. I think
I'm not making a personal attack on you. No, I'm just raising this issue. I'm saying it could.
A reminder, this report was done in Delaware, a state that's in the forefront of new approaches to help people deal with divorce. Only 3 other states have mandatory mediation. Some others are trying to establish it, but many legislatures are uncomfortable about making mediation a mandatory requirement. However, there is one issue where they all have to agree: child support. Only one family in 4 receives the full amount of court-ordered support. And now a new federal law says that all states must withhold wages from delinquent parents and set aside their tax refunds. After all, it's for the sake of the children. Next time on Frontline, the story of a 3rd grade class which was taught a dramatic lesson about the meaning of discrimination. It changed their lives.
How are black people treated? How are Indians treated? How are people who are of a different color than we are treated?
They're part of this world. They don't get anything in this world.
Why is that?
Because they're different colors.
You think you know how that would feel to be judged by the color of your skin?
Yeah.
Do you think you do? No, I don't think you'd know how that felt unless you had been through it, would you? How many in here have blue eyes? Okay, how many in here have brown eyes? It might be interesting to judge people today by the color of their eyes.
The program is called A Class Divided. Next time on Frontline. I'm Judy Woodruff. Good night.
Stay tuned for Amos and Andy, Anatomy of a Controversy. Did Amos and Andy stereotype blacks, or was it a groundbreaking pioneer? 20 years after its last broadcast, the question is still a matter of debate, as you'll find out next.
For a transcript of this program, please send $4 to Frontline, Box 322, Boston, Massachusetts, 02134. Frontline is produced for the Documentary Consortium by WGBH Boston, which is solely responsible for its content. Major funding for Frontline was provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Additional funding was provided by this station and other public television stations nationwide.
Schools, colleges, and other organizations interested in purchasing or renting video cassettes of this program may call 800-424-7963 or write PBS Video, Post Office Box 8092, Washington, D.C. 20024.